After starting off as a comic book and then action figure lineup and then its highly popular animated series, it was only a matter of time until the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossed over onto the big screen, which they did in 1990 with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles live-action movie, a movie that was big for its time. One of the greatest aspects of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie is how surprisingly dark it really is. Unlike the cartoon, which is more Looney Tunes, the movie is more Tim Burton's Batman, of which giving the Ninja Turtles this more gritty approach surprisingly works. In this story about 4 mutated turtles living in the sewers of New York, who have learned the art of Jiu-Jitsu by their fellow mutated sensei, a giant rat called Splinter, who must stop the evil Shredder, whose evil Foot Clan crime organization is terrorizing the city. Along the way, the Turtles get help from news reporter April O'Neil and fellow vigilante Casey Jones. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie was a big deal when it came out, as it took the Turtles to the next level and successfully brought the crime-fighting Turtles to life. So sit back and order some pizza as we look into 10 things that you didn't know about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Number 10. The Masters of the Universe movie affected the movie's distribution. Considering that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was a massive hit with the kids in the late 80s and early 90s, what with its highly popular TV show and toys, it would seem a given that movie studios would want in on the Ninja Turtles fame and get to work on distributing a live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Well, in reality, that couldn't be further from the truth, and surprisingly, no studio wanted a bar of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie because of how much of a flop the 1987 live-action Masters of the Universe movie was. The project was taken to Warner Brothers, MGM, Orion Pictures, Columbia Pictures, and Paramount, but none of the major studios were interested out of fear of having a disastrous repeat of what happened to the Masters of the Universe movie. So with no major studio backing the helm, an independent studio was required. Number 9. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie became the highest grossing independent film. Although New Line Cinema may be like a major movie company nowadays, back in the humble times of 1990, it was a much smaller company, known for distributing art house movies, and Freddy Krueger ones. New Line Cinema agreed to distribute the Ninja Turtles movie halfway through the movie's production process, and the gamble of going from artsy and Freddy's glove to crime-fighting turtles paid off, as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles made $202 million on a mere $13 million budget, and became the highest grossing independent film for its time, and put New Line Cinema on the map, or at least a more diverse map outside the Freddy Krueger fame, with the company from then on taking on many different movies, from Drop Dead Fred to Austin Powers to Lord of the Rings and the Mortal Kombat original and recent remake. With New Line Cinema still going strong to this day, releasing big mainstream movies, proving itself to be more than just the house that Freddy built. As of today, the highest grossing New Line Cinema movie is Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, but the company's first big brush of riches was with the Ninja Turtles. Number 8. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is an amalgamation of the cartoon and comics. When watching the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie for the first time, some young fans of the animated series may have been confused about many of the differences between the animated series and movie. For example, where was Krang, the Technodrome, Dimension X, Bebop and Rocksteady, and why weren't the foot soldiers robots, and why has Splinter got a completely different backstory, and what happened to Donatello doing machines? Does he not do machines anymore? Well, this is because, in a rather brave move, the movie decided to mainly focus on the original comic book series, which started the Ninja Turtles mythology, which had a more gritty street crime vibe. But to add to the confusion, the Ninja Turtles movie does borrow elements from the cartoon series too, such as the Turtles having individual coloured headbands, their love for pizza, and April O'Neil being a news reporter instead of a lab assistant, of which the Ninja Turtles movie has become its own universe, borrowing elements from both its comic book and more playful animated series. Number 7. The Master of Puppets brought the Turtles to life. In the early 90s, there was only one person who could have possibly successfully brought the Turtles onto the big screen, and that was Jim Henson himself. Henson had been in the business ever since the 60s, where he helped create Sesame Street and the Muppets. whose puppeteering skills have become legendary. And in 1979, the Jim Henson Creature Shop was created, in which Henson's company helped create puppets and creatures for movies such as The Dark Crystal and Labyrinth. And the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie was one of the last movies that Henson would work on, as afterwards he would work on The Witches, until his sad passing in 1990, in which Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Secret of the Ooze was dedicated to him. However, sadly, despite doing a stellar job on the turtle costumes, and let's be honest, they are awesome, Henson wasn't a fan of the finished movie, finding it to be excessively violent and not to his style. In fact, he found the violence in the movie to be pointless, and I think that's a shame, and he probably should have read one of the original comics so he knew what he was in for. And watching the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie really does make you appreciate old makeup effects. Number 6. Filming location. Although the Ninja Turtles was set in New York, most of the movie was filmed in North Carolina. Some exterior shots of New York were filmed from the movie, but scenes such as the famous rooftop scene at the end was filmed on sets constructed at North Carolina Film Studios. Members of the movie's production entered abandoned subway tunnels in New York to take photos so the scenery could be reconstructed on the North Carolina sets. British filmmaker Steve Barron was the movie's director. Barron had previously been an assistant cameraman on Superman the movie, as well as directing that bizarre science fiction comedy Electric Dreams, along with episodes of Jim Henson's The Storyteller, as well as directing music videos. Lots and lots of music videos, including Michael Jackson's Billie Jean, a-ha's Take On Me, Dire Straits' Money for Nothing, and David Bowie's Labyrinth hit As the World Falls Down, among many, many more. After Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, he would go on to direct Coneheads and The Specialist. According to Jim Henson's son, Brian Henson, who also worked on the movie, Barron had very little involvement in the movie's post-production phase. Pulp Fiction editor Sally Menke was the original editor for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. However, Golden Harvest, who was one of the companies backing the film, weren't too happy with their work, so they supposedly fired her. But it wouldn't cause a dent in Menke's career, as she would go on to edit many successful films until her death in 2010. Number 5. From Goonies to Turtles. Although the Ninja Turtles were performed by stuntmen in the movie, the production still had to find appropriate voice actors for the heroes in a half shell. Brian Tocci voiced Leonardo. Tocci appeared in the Revenge of the Nerds and Police Academy film series, as well as Star Trek The Next Generation. Josh Pays voiced Raphael, as well as performing the character. Pays appeared in TV shows such as Sex and the City and Law and Order. Robbie Rist provided the voice of Michelangelo. Rist had been in the industry ever since starring as Cousin Oliver in The Brady Bunch, and more recently helps provide the music for the Sharknado movies. But the most well-known actor to lend their voice to the Turtles is Corey Feldman, who provided the voice for Donatello. Feldman had become a huge young star during the 80s, starring in movies such as The Goonies, Stand By Me, and The Lost Boys. Feldman apparently was only paid $1,500 for voicing the famed turtle. Number 4. Cast and crew possibilities. Before Steve Barron was hired to direct the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, Australian director Russell Mulcahy was considered for directing duties. Several years earlier, Mulcahy directed the movie Highlander, in which Mulcahy proved that he could direct a fantasy movie while giving it a dark New York gritty vibe. One important aspect of the movie was the casting of April O'Neil, to which many young big actresses at the time were considered for the role, including Nicole Kidman, Sandra Bullock, Brooke Shields, Winona Ryder, Marissa Tomei, and Jennifer Beals. So the big question is, who would take on the role, and what unlikely source would help said actress? Number 3. Robin Williams helped develop the April O'Neil character for the big screen. Actress Judith Hoag was cast as the Ninja Turtles' news reporting friend April O'Neil. However, the actress didn't know anything about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at the time she was cast. Well, one funny man to the rescue, as at the time she was cast, Hoag was starring in Cadillac Man alongside Robin Williams, who was actually a fan of the Ninja Turtles, and got the young actress onto speed on the character via his Ninja Turtles comic book collection. See, there is nothing wrong with grown men reading comic books. Originally, April in the movie was to wear a yellow jumpsuit as seen in the cartoon, but when Hoag was fitted with the jumpsuit, she hated it, so the idea was scrapped. Apparently, Hoag had a lot of disagreements with the movie's production, particularly concerning the movie's violence and 6-day work schedule, which led to the character being recast in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Secret of the Ooze. Number 2, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was the second highest grossing kids movie of 1990. Not only did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles open up at number 1 in the box office upon its release on March 30th, 1990, but it was actually the second highest grossing kids movie of 1990, coming behind the impossibly popular Home Alone. Not bad for a movie that no major studio believed in. In addition to that, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was the 5th highest grossing movie of that year, coming behind Home Alone, Ghost, Dances with Wolves and Pretty Woman, with it beating The Hunt for Red October and Total Recall. The fact that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is up there with the likes of Home Alone and Dances with Wolves shows just what a big deal it was for its time. Bonus entry number 1, Roger Corman's Ninja Turtles. Now, according to an article on Screen Rant, in the movie's early days of production, when every studio and their pet goldfish was turning down making a Ninja Turtles movie, one filmmaker who was actually very keen to get to work on a Ninja Turtles film was B-movie legend Roger Corman, who of course is the king of B-movies. Supposedly, his vision of the Ninja Turtles was to cast 4 comedians as the Ninja Turtles, including Sam Kinison and Billy Crystal, and to just paint them green and put shells on their backs. Okay, this sounds more like an SNL sketch than it does an actual Ninja Turtles movie. Needless to say, this bizarre Ninja Turtles film wasn't made, and instead Corman would go on to make a Fantastic Four movie. Spoilers, it never got released. Bonus entry number 2, deleted scenes. Over the years, there have been several deleted scenes that have been discovered, mainly through still images or very rough footage. Some scenes that stand out to me is extra scenes at the farm. Yeah, remember that farm the Turtles, April and Casey Jones retreat to after their first battle with the Foot? Well, the Turtles do some training on an open field where Donatello wears this hat. I guess he's a farmer now. Yeah, this is giving me vibes of those weird farmer turtle action figures. Interestingly, these deleted farm training scenes did actually feature on not just one trading card, but 2. Yeah, 2 trading cards featuring a deleted scene. Another dark deleted scene involved the Foot Clan members who tried to attack April at the start of the movie, only to be stopped by the Ninja Turtles. Well, the young thugs had to be bailed out of jail, and when they return to the Shredder's Foot Clan hideout, Shredder attacks these youths and cuts them with his sharp armor in order to mark them, so they can have these marks to remind them of their failure. Wow, now I can understand why this scene was cut. No pun intended. But I also at the same time think it's a shame, as this demonstrates that Shredder in this movie is a dangerous, nasty piece of work who's not to be messed with. And I got this nugget of information from a very informative YouTube video from a YouTube channel called ScorePN. Number 1, cuts and edits. In my previous episode, I mentioned how Britain had issues with the movie Mrs. Doubtfire upon its release, to which certain cuts had to be made in order for the movie to avoid a 12 certificate. Well, in an ironic twist, the same thing happened to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, to which all the scenes of Michelangelo's nunchucks had to be removed, as for some reason, back then Britain was terrified of nunchucks. Swords were okay, but nunchucks, big no-no. And a song which featured in the movie called Turtle Power had to have a line changed, with the word ninja being swapped for hero, as the British were also terrified of the word ninja too. Hence, back at the time when the animated series was shown in the UK, it was called Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. But Britain wasn't the only country to make edits to the movie, as the German cut added some cartoon sound effects to some of the fighting scenes in an attempt to soften the movie's violence. Well guys, that was my look into the 1990 live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. This movie has actually aged quite well, and still to this day, in my opinion, it's the best of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies. I mean, it's no masterpiece, but it's still lots of fun and surprisingly takes its subject matter quite seriously and has lots of heart. Anyway, I'm Minty, and does anyone else remember that time when Michael Bay said he was going to make a Ninja Turtles movie where the turtles were aliens? Oh my god, dear oh dear. See ya!